So this is your guide to how to do the GCSE English Language AQA qualification. This is going to be focusing on paper 1, which is the creative reading and writing, where you're going to be reading a story and doing a bit of creative writing for question 5. So first thing to deal with is how to work through the 5 questions. 4 are reading, 1 is writing, and you start with the writing question. That's going to contain half the marks for that one question, and then you will work through the reading questions in this way. The only kind of odd bit being there is question 3, where you sort of look at it twice. This is how the time should divide up, and that's how it corresponds to the marks. This is what question 5 looks like on the page, and on the right a blown up version of the picture. There's 2 things you just need to focus on, 2 choices: write a story about time travel or describe life in 200 years, or a bit of a combination of both. So for question 5, the writing question, you're marked against 12 things. It's the only question on the paper where you have to worry about your writing. Once you've finished question 5, you don't get any marks for spelling, punctuation, grammar. So question 5, you've got 2 choices. You need to do a bit of thinking. What are you going to write about? And remember that you have to structure your ideas into paragraphs. You need at least 3. And within each paragraph, you need to make sure that you write at least 3 sentences on average. Make sure you include 1 short sentence, so you check that box of different variety of sentence forms, and use some interesting words so you get some marks for variety of vocabulary. So here is an example. You can write about anything as long as it's descriptive. It's about time travel. Here's a second one, bit more positive, and a third, but as long as it's descriptive and it's vaguely about time travel, you're good to go. So your exam started at 9:30, it's now 10:15, you've finished question 5, you're done with the writing section, and you're getting ready to do the 4 reading questions. This is the cover of the reading source. You get 1 piece of reading, an extract from a story. They call it the source, the extract, the insert. Probably nothing much of use to you there, but maybe the fact that it's from the beginning of a novel and it's quite recent, 2015. So really an important exam tip is to read the box that appears at the start of the source, and it gives you a lot of information about what's going on in the story. 3 key elements of any story is character, plot and setting. So you're trying to find out what's going on in relation to those 3 things and this particular story. So hopefully you spot that there's some characters there, that we've got a bit of plot. They're living in a house, not much, but a bit of plot, and some information about the setting, that it's a house, used to be a factory, spooky. So it's worth noting how the text is divided up across the 4 questions. You have question 1, that's the first paragraph, question 2, 4, and then, as I said, 3, where it's structure, so you're looking at the beginning and the end. So off you go. You're ready to start writing the answers to the first question. And what do you have to do? List 4 things about Rosie. Ignore anything you don't understand. There's more than 4 there. I make there 8 things you could say. Done. So I think if you can, I would go to the structure question next, because you've just read the beginning of the source and you have to say why that beginning might be of interest to a reader. Well, what's going on in the beginning? In the beginning of the text, we hear about a strange child appearing. Why might that interest someone? Well, it's strange, it's a bit odd. At any rate, it's worth looking at the beginning after you've read it and using this writing frame to talk about what happens and why it might interest someone. Okay, so we're moving on to question 2. Only 8 marks, so you're only going to spend about 12 to 15 minutes. What do we have to do? We have to look at descriptions of the garden, and we're looking at this section. There's a method that we're using. Make a point, the garden is like whatever, back it up with a quote, and then say something about the language. And you're looking for about 2 or 3 quotes, probably 2 in the amount of time you've got. Okay, so let's get on, and I'm just going to focus on those first 4 lines. We've got to find some quotes about the garden. So here's the second one, third, fourth, so more than you need already. So what's the garden like? Let's use this quote here, say something about it, and then zoom in on the devices or the words and explain them. And you're going to do that a couple of times. So we're kind of on the home straight, but we've got this really important question 4 to do, 20 marks, half the reading marks for this one question. What have we got to do? We've got to focus on this statement that a fictitious student has said about the text. And what is it we're supposed to be agreeing with? Wasn't at all surprised by the disappearance of the child. It's Rosie's imagination. So you've got to maintain focus on that statement. And we're going to look for evidence to back this up. Okay, so I know what I'm supposed to be agreeing with. Wasn't a surprise the kid disappears. It was obviously Rosie's imagination. I'm just going to look at the first paragraph, and I'm looking for evidence. And I'm going to use that to, again, use that PEE method. So evidence that it's part of her imagination. Here's some. I'm going to use that quote. Cara seemed unfazed, so the daughter doesn't notice that this girl is in the garden. I agree, Rosie imagined her because Cara acted like she wasn't there. And then I'm going to sort of zoom in on something in the quote. Unfazed, and explains that means didn't bother her, didn't seem like she saw her. And that's it. You've got to just present evidence, and you'll probably you've got 25 minutes, 3-4 points, depending on how quick you can go. So I've read the whole of the text now. I've read the end for question 4, so I can do a second bit on the structure question 3, and I'm going to say what the main focus is, same as what I did for the beginning. So what happened at the end? Suddenly this child character isn't there, and I'm going to speculate on why that's interesting. Well, it's shocking, maybe it's scary. I'm curious about why the child's disappeared. Where has it gone? Was it a ghost? Okay, so that's it. You're done. 1 hour and 45 minutes, or 2 hours, 10 minutes if you get extra time. So what advice am I going to leave you with? Do question 5 first, the only one where you're getting marks for writing. Make sure you've got paragraphs and there's some kind of structure. Each paragraph has a particular purpose or focus. Then 3, when you come onto the reading, read the box, use the PEE method, and make sure you leave at least 25 minutes for that 20-mark question 4. Good luck.